Seats to Streets, a podcast for pastors doing missions better. Today, J.R. Horn and Brian Gorman will begin to shine light upon 4 different focus types of people and how to better communicate and improve your work life, mission, and day-to-day conversation. Brought to you by Pioneer Bible Translators. Find out how you can do more for the mission at seatstostreets.com and pioneerbible.org.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Seats to Streets podcast. I'm your host, that guy over there, co-host, still Brian Gorman, and we're coming back to you to keep progressing on our 4 focuses series. We've already gone through 2. We've gone through our plan focus, we've gone through our power focus people, and today, Brian, we are talking about my people. We're talking about the play focused people. This is so much play focus that I even had the wrong title and everything, and we had to restart the podcast. So that's your play focus people. All you out there, play focus people unite. So if you're coming in halfway and you're like, what are these guys talking about? Let me catch you up real quick. We're talking about the 4 focuses that make up an individual. Every one of us has one that we possess and we push out, and one that we internalize and pull in. We'll talk about those here in a minute of how we do that. But every one of us is made up and find ourselves. We're either a power focused, plan focused, people focused, or play focused individual. And here's the key. This is why we're going through this. If you're leading a team, if you're in a managerial seat somewhere, or if you're a senior pastor, or if you happen to be a missions minister and you're leading your missions team and they're all volunteers, the key to understanding this is to better communication, to better care for them, and to learn how to lead this group where you need them to go. And we do that by focusing in their direction and in their style, and to really come in to understand that. So this is actually a whole series that Brian has developed, and he's been teaching his business clients. And I said, Brian, this needs to come to the church. We need to hear this information so that we can better love and care and pastor and shepherd our people. So Brian, we're going to talk about people focus today. So
play focus today.
We're going to talk about play focus. See, I did it again.
Today.
We're going to talk about play. So I need time to settle down here because I'm really excited to talk about me and my people. So give us an update. Give us an overview. What is a play-focused person?
One of my favorite jokes about play-focused people is that what they'll say is, enough about me. What do you think about me?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that is their wiring. What you're talking about is right, in the fact that the way in which you engage with someone is so key. And we've talked about, you've got their power-focused people. Right, they're looking at what's going to gain power. There's plan-focused people. That's the thing they're looking at. You've got your people-focused people. Like, they're just looking at how people are going to engage with it, and I mean it like just the emotional aspect. And you have play-focused people of let's just have a good time. Mm-hmm. And it's so important to recognize this is going to hold true in everything we talk about. That all of those focuses are based around the emotional stability of the person you're talking to. Right. Power-focused people need to feel like they've accomplished something. It's an emotional feeling, right? Plan-focused people can't handle the chaos. They need some clarity to give them some organizational, emotional structure. You've got your people-focused people are emotionally just so worried that others aren't going to get along and how is it going to interact, and they build that. Play-focused people are the ones who usually just can't handle like the weight of a situation, and they have to sort of release that emotional pressure through jokes and through humor and things like that. And that's where this comes from. It's always worth noting we're really dealing with the emotional aspect. But for our sake, the point is, can you pick out how someone communicates? And again, we're always dealing with communication. That's the key factor here. And as we've talked about before, one of the key factors we're dealing with, if you haven't heard this before, go back and listen to some earlier ones. One of the key factors is not figuring out how someone broadcasts, but figuring out how someone receives. Right? So you oftentimes get someone, they broadcast a primary. They broadcast the plan. They broadcast the play. They broadcast the power. But it's not how they receive. Like I myself broadcast power in the way that I communicate. in the way that the way that I dress, the way that I interact with people. I tend to broadcast power, especially in a business setting. So if I'm coaching with your church or coaching with a not-for-profit, coaching a business, a joke that I use quite often is, look, clarity is a gift I bring. I'm not here long enough to be nice. I have to be clear. And
You
so
call that a joke.
that's and it's true.
That's the
And
that's
so
the power focused person's joke right there, folks.
it's
That's the
funny
best they got.
because it's true. And so I tend to be really direct. I mean, just a conversation I had with a company I'm working with right now, I shared with them that I worked with all their management team and was trying to build up their management structures. And in that conversation, I remember talking to them saying, look, again, clarity is the gift I bring. I don't know if your managers are incapable of the work or incompetent in the work. And I said, stay with me. Incapable meaning they're just never going to be able to do it. Incompetent meaning they don't have the skills to do it. Let's see if we can give them the skills, right? So there's this clarity statement, power. And yet, if you want to have a conversation with me, you got to recognize the play focus in me. Like that I will receive. I don't really receive power that well. And I definitely don't receive people well, the people focus model, right? So I just know that about me, being able to pick out that in the other person. So I'm going to show you today sort of the 3 main ways to figure it out, while recognizing that wherever a person is alters a little bit of their focus. When I'm at work, I am that power-focused person. When I'm talking with someone in a group, I become much more play-focused, right? It's just kind of the way that I function. So
you're hang on, Brian. You're gonna, if I hear you correctly, you're gonna allow us to be able to potentially survey a room, or when I'm talking with someone one-on-one to determine, to look for cues to find out if this person is a people focus, a play focus, a power focus, or a plan focus, right?
Yeah. And ideally, I want you to be able to do it within a matter of about 30 seconds of talking with them. Like you should be able to see them from across the room, talk with them for about 30 seconds and go, I got a pretty good idea. You may not nail it perfectly, but you got a good starting point.
Yeah.
And it's by looking at 3 things: visual, verbal, and nonverbal, right? Visual, what do they look like? Verbal, what are the words they use? Kind of a vocabulary thing. The words they use. And your nonverbal is going to deal with sort of the tone, the look, the experience.
Yeah, mannerisms.
And you can pick it out really fast. So let's just walk through this a little bit so we can understand it. When you have a play-focused person, visually, they want to be seen. And that's the easiest way to catch it. Now, if you deal with someone who is play receiver, maybe not play broadcaster, it's going to be more subtle, but it will still be there. But here's how you can kind of catch some of those play focused people. They're either very, and I don't mean properly dressed as in sort of immaculately dressed. They're wearing something they want you to recognize, right? They're going to wear brighter shirts. They're going to wear the Hawaiian shirts. They're going to wear pants that aren't just blue jeans. It's going to stand out somehow, right? They're going to be wearing maybe the French cuff shirts. Their shoelaces will be a different color than their shoes. A lot of different components like that. One of the real ones to tell a lot of time is pay attention to the socks they're wearing.
Yeah.
That someone who receives play, not maybe doesn't broadcast play, but receives play, will have socks that really pop or have shoes that really pop, while the rest of it looks relatively conservative. But this can happen in a variety of ways. I don't always mean like they're always wearing big flashy things, right? So I knew a guy one time who didn't own a motorcycle, and yet 3/4 of his entire closet were Harley gear.
I don't know who that could be.
Yeah. Never seen him there, JR. So because the play focus wanted to fit in with the group he wanted to fit in with. I mean, that's why for a long time he went by the moniker the bikerless biker, right? Because he wanted to look the part to belong to the group he wanted to belong to. Yep. And so because of it, there's always a style that makes them stand out. Visually, you know it pretty quick.
You bring that up, and you're right. You can look. Your play focused people are going to they're going to align with someone else too. So like Harley was this culture that I really wanted to be a part of. Now later in life, my wife and I ended up getting Harleys, and then we had kids, and well, those went out the window. So, but you're going to find like your play focused people. When you look at them and you see the things that they're wearing, oftentimes you're going to see things that it's a person specific line. So So like Tiger Woods just now came out with Sunday Red. You know, your play focused people are going to have that because Tiger's awesome. He's so cool. I got to be a part. I got to be in the Tiger crew, and they're going to have the Sunday Red polos to go play golf. That's
Logos
going to be
are
a
a big deal.
huge key to look for.
Look for
Yep.
distinct logos. Visually, you're going to catch distinct logos. The other thing you're going to catch visually is they take up a lot of space. Now you've got power focused people, like, you know, when I sit down, like I take my chair and the two chairs on both sides of me, and if you're in the chair, I'm putting my arm around you because that's my chair now too.
Yeah, it's
right?
my
It's
chair.
just, there's that sort of scenario. But play focused people are just animated, like they're moving a lot. You can see them moving a lot. They talk with their hands a lot. They can't sit still. The foot's always tapping, right? Visual. Verbally, they're going to use very modern phrases and terminology. They're going to use the phrase that makes them kind of feel a little younger than they are. They want to use whatever the new meme is, whatever the new phrase is. They're the ones who are going to be going, dude, cool, brother, man. I mean, they're going to be doing that all the time.
Yep.
Because they're just trying to relate and be fun and look like they're up on the current trending, right? So where your plan focused person can tell you about whatever the latest news is, your play focused person can tell you whatever the latest big social media thing is. They can tell you whatever the new trend is. They can tell you what the emerging phrases are going to be.
Yeah.
And
expert on movies, pop culture.
yeah,
That's the friend you want to take to the pub when they have trivia night and it's pop culture trivia night.
yeah.
Get your play focused people. You'll run the gamut.
So you'll know, because when you talk to them, they're going to want to talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to want to talk about big stories. Verbally, they tell stories. And if you put two play people together, they will tell a story and then override the story, then override the story, then override the story. And here's the thing is, they won't think they think it's an amazing conversation. Everyone else is sitting there going, I can't keep up, and you're hurting my brain with how rude you're being to each other.
Right.
But they don't think they are. They're like, oh, I told a story that made you think of a story, which made me think of a story, which made you think of a story. And that means we had a great talk. So the other thing you're going to find is verbally, they're going to use the word I more than almost any other group.
I don't agree with that.
Right.
I think you're wrong.
So I'll tell you a really good way to catch them real quick. This is how you find it fast, is if they don't have a story to contribute, they will tell you a story about somebody else they know, as though they were there and somehow it's their story.
Yes.
I have been in a room with JR as JR has told my story for me while I have been there.
And I told it better. Thank you very much.
So that's where we deal with that aspect.
It's not just the story. This is where play focused people can become a bit more plan focused, because we are going to determine the key aspects of that story. And oftentimes to the other three types of people in the room, they're going to listen to the story and go, you could have just told me that in 30 seconds. Yeah, but I needed you to know that I wasn't feeling good that day.
No, I could not have told you that story in 30 seconds. I would have wanted to. I just can't.
No, there's specific relational details about a story that a play focused person will deliver, that only that person will think that it's necessary for that. Everyone else will be like, all right, didn't need to know the color of pants you had on as you drove your minivan and you were 2 hours late for the meeting. But somehow that play focused person determined that was integral to it. That's a big part of it. If you're talking to someone and you're sitting there going, why is he describing his breakfast to me?
They verbally paint a picture.
Yes. Yeah. It will be a movie.
And that's how, again, you can pick this up real fast. You see someone from across the room who looks like their clothes were intentional. I'm not saying well designed. I'm not saying, perfectly put together. Intentional.
Right.
And then you find that as they talk, they want to make sure that you are experiencing the experience they had as well, that they very quickly move into a story that may or may not have to do with what they were talking about, and don't be surprised if they get distracted. That's how you can catch that in about 30 seconds. They're taking up space. And then you get to the nonverbal. And the nonverbal is kind of the one that's the most obvious with this group, because the nonverbal, they're loud. They're just loud. They don't mean to be loud. They don't know how to not be loud.
Yep.
And so you can always tell when you get a group of play focused people, because one will start at like a level 5 and the next one's going to go to 6. Next one's before long, they're both at like 11 and they don't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden they notice everyone in the entire area is looking at them, trying to figure out why they're so loud. And they think they're talking in a normal voice.
Mm-hmm.
They get loud. As a friend of ours has said before, I'm sorry that the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours, because you just came in louder and I had a story to tell.
Yep.
Right. So they're going to come in loud, nonverbal. Like I said, they're going to take up a lot of space. They're going to use their hands. It's going to be a lot of those things. It's going to be a lot of facial features. They're the ones who will have to act out the story.
Yes.
Like if someone tripped, they're going to trip themselves one way or another. They're going to kind of act that out. But one of the biggest ones is they have sort of a sing-songy tone when they talk. Like when they're telling a story, they want you to feel that, right? If you consider that in comparison to a plan-focused who's going to be meticulous in the way they're going to communicate with you, or a power-focused who's going to be quite dark, the plan-focused who's going to be a bit maybe condescending, the people-focused who's going to be soft. Play-focused, man, they are singing a song in their head all the time, because it is always going to have that sort of fun, upbeat sort of feeling, as though they are just waiting for the chance to put in a joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you deal with your visual. They stand out. There was intentionality, verbally, very modern phrasing, a lot of I, enough about me. What do you think about me? Story-based, non-verbally, going to take up a lot of space. They're going to be loud and they're going to be a bit sing-songy when they talk.
So we get the idea of how to survey a room and to look for visual, verbal, and the nonverbal cues to kind of survey to know, okay, this is the type of individual I'm meeting with, or the group of people I'm meeting with. But what about if you're overseeing this person and they're on staff? What about, we just talked about some of the pluses and minuses. How do you give this person adjusting feedback to improve and then positive feedback to continue going in that direction? How does that work with this play focused person?
So if we think about it from the perspective of your power focused person, when you give feedback to them, needs to be on the result.
Right.
Your plan focused, your attention needs to be, and your feedback needs to be on the efficiency and effectiveness. The play focused person is really only worried about one thing, and that's their image. And so when you know that, your feedback needs to be based on their image, their self-image. So when you're giving positive feedback or adjusting feedback, it needs to be based on that. Let me give you some examples so you see what I'm saying here, right? You come late to the meeting, right? We have a meeting, it's supposed to start at 9:00. You come walking in, your play-focused person comes walking in at 9:05, laughing at the person down the hallway, right? Because they were so engaged with them, they missed that part of the meeting because they weren't thinking about what was next. If you look at that person and you say to a play-focused person, hey, when you show up late to our meeting, it makes for an ineffective meeting. Who cares? I had a great conversation with that dude.
Yeah, I don't care.
You say to the play-focused person, hey, when you show up late to the meeting, it really causes people to feel like you didn't think about them. But of course, I'm here. I've told him a joke. I give that guy a pat on the back. Okay, that's not going to work either. On the other hand, if I go to a play-focused person, hey, when you show up late to the meeting, it makes it look like you really aren't prepared to do your job well, and that maybe we can't respect you in the role. You might as well just stab the dude in the heart.
Yes, because that's one of the biggest struggles. That's one of the biggest struggles of an emotionally intelligent, play-focused person, because they understand everyone looks at them like a slacker, and when you just kind of brushed one of those wounds real quick with that statement, it's like, oh, Spidey sense is picking up. I'm not going to be late next time.
Right. Or the other thing will happen is a play-focused person will completely wilt away because they don't like the feeling of not being respected, valued, cared for, recognized. So this is the reason why if you get a play-focused person in a room and they're the ones always telling a joke, and what do most people do when a person does that? They ignore them. You're just making them worse because they've got to go bigger to get your attention. So instead, you want to acknowledge, right? You want to be able to say, hey, thanks for lightening the mood. Hey, let's get back to this now.
Yep.
right? That little quick bits of acknowledgement. So when you give adjusting feedback, when you give positive feedback, obviously with play-focused people, positive feedback is going to be substantially more effective. That's not always true with power-focused people or plan-focused people. But with play and people, positive needs to be the key factor there, looking for those simple positive reinforcements. And you can even do it with, hey, thank you so much for, you shared this joke in the middle of it. Man, that was kind of the right time to add a little bit of levity. Really appreciate that. Be careful how much you do that. It'll make it look like you're not taking what we do seriously, which makes us not take you seriously. But thank you for doing that there.
Yep.
Right. It is one of the rare times. I'm not a big fan of the whole compliment sandwich that people talk about, but that is one of the rare times you want to give the positive. Here's how you avoid the negative in the future and then go back to the positive. Really good way to communicate with them when you've got to give adjusting or positive feedback. Find a way to make even your adjusting feedback positive, and do not expect them to be okay with it. They will pout about it. It's okay, right? That's why you really want to work to strengthen them. Let them know their value. Let them know their worth. Let them know that you think they're awesome, they're great, and you want to see things blow up too. But you're telling them this because you want great things for them, and you want others to see the greatness that you see in them.
Yeah.
If you're in church world, this is a lot of youth ministers.
Oh, baby.
It's just a lot of
we
youth
are
ministries.
the key to youth ministries. That is, that's the way it is.
And this is the person who's just always disorganized. Always disorganized, right? So play to the strengths, figure out how to make that happen. That's how you get positive and adjusting feedback. And that's how you can pick them out. When you go to a networking group, you get together with other people, you can see them across the room. You see the one that is the people magnet by nature. They just want to see something blow up. And if it gets too serious, they're going to tell a joke. They're going to keep telling the joke louder and louder. That's how you communicate to them, is you make it about them. You make it about the story. You make it about fun. And you make it about that sense of, won't it all be great when we all get to see this thing blow up together?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, they are a galvanizing force. They're an Enneagram 7. That is just integral. Now let me speak to you for a minute as a play focused person, right? When we were doing power focused person, Brian spoke to that. And actually I'm a play power. Brian actually has allowed me through this teaching to figure that out. I actually thought I was a play focus with a people focus, caring with a heart and empathy. And I say that sounds just so cold, actually, that I don't have a heart. I don't have empathy, Brian. But I realized over the years now with working through this, that I have a lot more power in me than I had thought before. But when you're Pastor, when you have this play focused person on your team or on your staff, they are integral. I mean, they are the diamond in the rough. They just really need a lot of polishing to get to the diamond to show out. But when they do, they get stuff done in ways that most other focuses can't get done. So we're going to talk about people focus on the next episode, but your people focus really have this way of ensuring people are included because they don't want people to be left out. But your play focused people want people to be included because they want them all to have fun together. So, I mean, Brian, I know there was a time you and I were at an event and it was overwhelming for a non-play focused person. It was a lot of playful stuff going on. If you were not the extrovert, it was going to be very, very tough. And Brian's a natural power focus to be in control. And in this situation, man, the extroverts and the play focused people were in control. So I remember looking over at Brian and I'm going, Brian seems left out. And I made my way to include him into it and found ways of relatability like only a play focused person can do. And then we were good. That's the key to a play focused person. They have a way of reading people and an intuition that none of the three other focuses will ever have. They think they have, but they don't.
They're the most inclusive because they want everybody to have fun together, which is why you absolutely need them on your team. But remember, especially those of you who are play focused who are listening to this isn't about you.
Right.
This is about learning how to communicate to you, to someone else about themselves And that's why that's so key.
Yeah.
So remember, everything we're trying to talk about in this is how do you recognize it in someone else so you can communicate to them in a way they hear. Communication's what the listener does. The most loving thing we do is the same thing Jesus did for us, and that is he became incarnate so that we could experience him in our way. And that's what we want to do as leaders as well.
Yeah. So, folks, thanks for listening. We're so glad you're here. We hope that this has been able to bring you a better understanding of how you can, shepherd and pastor your people at your church, or how to better care and to manage your team, or even how to run your company as you continue to hire and grow people. We hope that this has been beneficial. These are key in order to be able to progress and to move forward, whether it's your business or your church. So for Brian and I at Seats to Streets podcast, we will see you on the next episode. Take care, folks.
Thank you for joining us today. If you wish to connect with the hosts or other listeners, please reach out at seatstostreets.com. We thank you for your listenership and hope you enjoyed.